Hi guys, welcome back to Alamat, where we translate and narrate Philippine myths, urban legends, and horror stories to share with the world. Our tale for this week is about unexpected hauntings in the author's office when they tried to prank their boss. This tale is called Our Haunted Office. Some people believe that being unreasonable or unpleasant at work makes them more efficient. They feel vindicated because no one has ever successfully shut off their behavior, and their power tripping produced results. My team leader Mary Jane and my operations manager Juvie are the worst leaders that I encountered in the BPO industry. TL Jane would call a meeting and would humiliate me by pointing out my mistakes in my calls. Honestly, I'm open to constructive criticism, but I should have been coached in private. I also presented some work ideas to her to make our calls more efficient, and she made those ideas her own. She grabbed all the credits. She presented those ideas to her manager Juvie, and it was applied in our call flow, and she was given a proactive employee badge for it. In addition, I discovered some inconsistencies in our incentive structure. Our vendor clients had been quite generous in the past, and we used to receive monthly bonuses. But we no longer do. Juvie, our manager, might have been spending the money on herself. I hate my TL and my manager. Their ingrained behavior had shaped their personality. To get back to my bosses, I decided to team up with my coworker Jason. He accepted right away, since he believed he would be fired soon as well. We intended to scare our two bosses, but the hauntings became far too real for everyone in the office. "What's the game plan, Rudy?" my teammate Jason asked. "We'll put scary stuff in the office," I said softly as we ate our lunch at the pantry. "Let's spend the rest of our time going to the mall and get some props," Jason suggested. Our office is located inside the shopping mall, so we were able to easily buy the materials that we needed. There was a tool outage that was site-wide, so agents were sent home early. TL Jane and OM Juvie went to the mall with other agents that were close to them. Only Jason and I were left in the office, so we were able to execute our plan. It was timely that we were tasked to decorate our bay for the vendor client visit that will happen next month. The theme of the decoration was different Filipino festivals, and we have chosen a Aswang festival that is held in Capiz. Jason dimmed the lights by covering them with a colorful cellophane wrapper. He was also skilled with electrical wiring, so he installed sound and lighting effects. While he was doing that, I made dummies of terrifying monsters such as Manananggal, Aswang, and Capre. Since we enjoyed what we were doing, we did not notice that we worked until midnight. The Capre was placed at the center, while the Aswang and the Manananggal were placed on both ends. Jason placed the Aswang in the entrance of our bay, while the Manananggal was hanging on the far end. Jason and I got nervous when we saw some dark smoke in our bay. I initially thought that Jason installed it, but he said that he didn't, since our office had smoke detectors. We were scared that the sprinklers would be activated, so we traced the source of the smoke. We came near the cubicle pod of our manager Juvie, and the smoke was coming from there. I saw a shadow of someone who hid inside the cubicle, so I told Jason to come with me. The smoke had dissipated significantly, and we were ready to enter the cubicle when the emergency door alarm reverberated. The loud sound should only happen when someone opens it and uses it to depart or enter, which is completely forbidden because it was designed for emergency situations only. We heard footsteps approaching us. Our office's security officer was concerned by the loud noise. We were questioned by the security officer why we were still there at that hour and why we opened the emergency door. I reasoned out about the preparations we were doing for the client visit and Jason convinced the guard that it was a security alarm glitch since we did not even come near the emergency door. The guard asked us to leave the area, which we did since we were done with the decorations anyway. As we were leaving, the guard came across our decorations and was astonished. He even cursed and brushed his chest with his hand, indicating that he got scared to death. Jason gave me a high five. We realized that we were successful in decorating our bay with our theme of Aswang Festival. The Aswang Festival is a socio-cultural event held in Rojas City, Capiz, with the goal of dispelling the idea that the province is home to Aswang by making the monster of the province's most popular tourist attraction. This annual festival takes place around the end of October, just in time for the Philippines' All Saints' Day or Undas. The Capizanon of all ages looks forward to the procession of participants dressed as the most terrifying mythical creatures, such as Balbal, Wakwak, and Capre. A trade exhibition exhibiting their framed seafood items and other local delights runs concurrently with this event. We arrived at work early the next day to see how our co-workers, particularly our bosses, reacted. Those that came into our bay had the same immediate reaction as the security guard the night before. They screamed, cursed, and then laughed at each other. When my supervisor, Mary Jane, saw the decorations, I was surprised that she did not become terrified, and her eyes even gleamed with delight. When our manager Juvie arrived, my supervisor took the credit once more as she showed the decorations to her. She impressed the boss so much that she encouraged the other teams to finish decorating their base as well. Jason looked at me and shook his head because we were never even recognized. I just raised my hand, signaling him to ignore it. I felt bad that my bosses did not become scared even a bit. I almost admitted that we failed in our mission until some paranormal occurrences started. While we were taking calls, one of my coworkers stood up and screamed after taking in a phantom call. As technical support representatives, we receive incoming calls for troubleshooting fiber optic internet connections of our customers in the US. My coworker, who was still shaking, reported that she got a ghost call. No one was speaking on the line, so she started to say her ghost spiel, but the boy screamed at her, saying foreign words she did not understand. It frightened her as the boys seemed to be wailing in anguish. Team leader Mary Jane came near her and asked her to sit down and come back to the phone to log in. I felt bad about it since she should have let the agent rest for a bit. Before she could take in another call, another coworker shouted in dread and collapsed on the floor. She seemed to be having a heart attack, so Jason rushed to the clinic to call our company doctor. Since I am a Red Cross volunteer, I performed CPR on her and she was revived. We learned later that she was not able to take her lunch and medication on time that day, since it was queuing and lunch was moved to the last part of the shift. My coworker was sent to the hospital for a full checkup, and I learned later that she was sent home the same day. I noticed that my bosses were too scared when that happened. It could be because of their concern for the agent, or due to the financial losses they would incur if an agent dies on the production floor. The next day, I came early to work to take a bath. I borrowed the shower room key from the assigned security guard. I heard someone crying as I approached the shower room. It sounded like a lady's voice. Because it was a men's restroom, I was intrigued. So I checked the nearest toilet and heard the bowl flush. Because the door was unlocked and no one was around, I concluded that the toilet flushed on its own. My peripheral vision caught a glimpse of someone passing by, so I dashed out to check, but I was alone in the restroom. I carefully examined each cubicle, but they were all empty, except for one bidet that was left open. I turned it off and checked the shower room. The crying voice already faded, but I was still anxious to find out who was sobbing. I got close enough to grab the doorknob and slowly opened it. I peeked inside first and opened the door widely. I found no one there, so I just continued taking my shower. The next day, we were surprised that our decorations were changed or moved. The banananggal was placed on top of the entrance while the aswang was put in the far end, so their places were swapped. We asked the roving guard, but he was firm that he did not touch the decorations. We asked the other guards, but they mentioned that they are only allowed on the production floor during their shift, and only the roving guard roamed that area. The worst, though, was yet to come. In the sleeping quarter, one agent was discovered dead. I overheard that he'd been lifeless there for 2 days. He was found by a janitor who was preparing to clean the room, and it seemed that he was not responding. The janitor shook his shoulder repeatedly, but was surprised to notice that his eyes were open but his lips were already dry and pallid. The sight of his body being removed from the sleeping quarter gave us a shiver. But it made me smile to see my superiors, Mary Jane and Juvie, get overly worried. We witnessed a series of paranormal activities in the days following. Computer monitors turning off and on by themselves, keyboards typing on their own, phantom images flashing on the mirrors and glass walls, frequent power outages despite the presence of the mall's generator, lights flickering on and off, phantom laughter of kids playing in the production floor, alarm systems of the emergency door frequently malfunctioning, producing a loud and disturbing beeping sound, shadows in the restrooms, the presence of virtual smoke. Our decorations kept being moved or moved by themselves. The truth is, there were too many to mention. My OM, Juvie, requested for review of all the CCTV footage in the building, and they did not find anything unusual. The subtle hauntings became a part of her daily work life. Then a week later, I noticed some changes in the behavior of my bosses, especially OM Juvie. She smiles a lot now and she looks inspired. Jason later admitted that Juvie was her new girlfriend. Not bad, since Juvie is smart, sexy, and beautiful despite her toxic attitude. And I noticed that the level of toxicity in the office diminished. I am not sure if it was caused by the hauntings or by our love-inspired operation manager's better behavior. Jason also persuaded me to date our supervisor Jane. I shrugged it off because I adored gorgeous women and my team leader did not meet that requirement. However, now that my supervisor is my girlfriend, my life at work has been a lot easier. We take our lunch together at the pantry and go on group dates with Jason and OM Juvie. She even assigned me to host the vendor client visit program. The decorations were taken down after the occasion and the hauntings ceased. What do you think of this week's story? If you have worked in a similar office and you've experienced something similar, let me know down in the comments. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this to your friends and family. If you have stories you would want me to narrate, send them over at mralamatph@gmail.com. Salamat guys, and see you in the next one.